Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Tracy Nova, with the Aurakrown Empowered Podcast. In this episode, we have Peter Lightbear. He's calling in from Las Vegas. He is a spiritual seeker, a Kundalini instructor, an energy work facilitator, and a seeker of truth. Welcome, Peter, onto this podcast. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm super excited for today's episode.
Yay! So are we. So are we. And let's just jump right into it. How, what, when, how did this all happen that you got into this spiritual journey, into your spiritual awakening? Give us all these juicy tidbits.
Okay, that's a loaded question, but let's jump into it. Yeah, for me, it started around 2012, maybe a little bit before that. As a kid, I was really tapped into energy. I was like doing Reiki and healing hands on trees and on the playground. And I didn't know it at the time what I was doing. It just felt good. And I felt like I was connecting with the trees and the animals in my life. And then I would start seeing auras, which I also didn't know what that was. But I was just, those are some of the gifts that I had as a kid. And then around sixth grade, I kind of started to get overwhelmed with the different spirits that were coming to visit me, you know? So there was all kinds of different like ghosts and things coming around. And I remember distinctly watching The Sixth Sense, and I got so freaked out. I was like, "Oh man, this is real for me." Like I wasn't having any physical harm done to me, but it was a lot of like knocking on the attic wall from the other side, and like all kinds of crazy stuff that was happening. And I was started praying for it to stop. I was like, I want all this to stop. I don't have anybody to help me. My parents don't know how to hold space for me or what to do. So I was like, all right. I started praying, and my all that kind of shut off.
Mm.
Then around 2012, I was like 24, almost 25 years old. Around that time, there was this prophecy that was going around, right? Like 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar. It was
Right.
going to be
Yes.
this huge shift, right? And who knows, all these different predictions around the world were happening. And I was like, all right, I want to be with my family. I want to be with this woman that I was with at the time. I'm like, let's go to our mountain house and spend the holidays up there, and just, if the world ends, we're all together, you know what I mean, kind of energy.
Right. Yeah.
And it ended up that year was like a catalyst for me, like that sparked this awakening journey that really started to reactivate. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
reactivate and reopen everything that I had suppressed, because now I was ready to connect with my gifts again. I was ready to just really step into what I came here to do as a soul,
Mm-hmm.
And
So, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, this woman that I mentioned, we ended up breaking up a few months later, but we were really we had a really strong connection, a really, really unique bond that lasted for at least 3 years. I was trying to figure out why I was still caring so deeply about this person, And it actually drove me to get into like a deep dark night of the soul, like a depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really an optimistic guy. I'm very, you know,
Light bear.
positive about, yeah, positive positive about a lot of things in life. And I just I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, why is this still happening? Why do I still feel so much for this woman? And I remember I was up at that same mountain house in Pennsylvania, and I'm driving to the Amish market, I think. And as I'm driving, I'm like crying and I'm like praying while I'm driving, and in my mind, and I'm like, Creator, please show me the truth. Like, please show me why I still feel this way. And the sky opened up, and this beam of light shined down on me, and then I felt this energy shoot up my spine from my tailbone all the way up to the top of my head. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but it turned out that was Kundalini energy shooting up my spine. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I think either that same day or the next day, uh, I went to my first Kundalini yoga class. And Kundalini yoga, just to rewind it a little bit, I was looking for a specific type of yoga. I was trying all different types. I was going to vinyasa. I was going to hatha yoga. I tried yin yoga. I tried all these different types of yogas. And eventually I every time it was like something was missing, right? Like I was like, this just isn't quite it. It just isn't what I'm looking for. And I met this girl. Tinder had just come out at that time. And
Mm.
I met this girl on there, and she's like, have you tried Kundalini yoga? And I'm like, I haven't even heard of that. What is that? And she's like, there's this little studio. It's not even a studio. It's like a space that's shared with a martial arts guy, and there's like tarot card readings there sometimes. And she's like, go check it out, it's on whatever day. And so I went up there, and I had this teacher was trained in LA, and it's this tiny little studio in the middle of Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is like a tiny little city, that's known from the Office, and yeah. And so uh I go in there, and I have this profound class. Like, we're doing this Kundalini, what's called a Kriya, which is a yoga set. And we're like log roll. I remember we were log rolling, like where we were like a pencil with our arms at our sides, and we were rolling on the ground, and that was part of the um balancing the magnetic field. And I remember when we laid down for shavasana at the end, right? The relaxation portion. I was so like, something happened. My third eye opened up, and I started to connect with past lifetimes with this woman. And I was
Oh,
getting, yeah, I was getting like glimpses of,
of your ex, right?
yeah, of
Okay.
the ex, because I was asking for that, right? I was praying
Mm-hmm.
for Creator to show me why I was so connected to her. And I started seeing like glimpses of her and I in Egypt in like a past lifetime, her and I in like all these 3 or 4 past lifetime regressions. But they were like quick. They were these these images that popped up, and I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. And at that same moment, like right after that, I realized I got to teach this, because this is profound. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't, I need to share this with the world. This is something that is remarkable, right? Like, I've never experienced anything like this. And so, I walk out of the Kundalini yoga class, and there's a tarot card reader sitting right next, like in the same studio. And I go up to her, and I'm like, I got this situation where I'm trying to figure out, why do I still have all these deep feelings for this woman? And she goes, oh, like really nonchalantly, she's like, oh yeah, that's your twin flame. And I'm like, what's that? I've never even heard of that. What, this was way before anybody was talking about it on, mainstream. It was not,
Right.
it wasn't something that was common knowledge, right? And so I'm like, what is that? And she's like, oh, it's basically like somebody who is like the other half of your soul. You guys are really connected. And she was just really chill about it. She's like, yeah, that's just what it is. And I go home and I'm like, I gotta figure this out. Like, I gotta start like digging into it. So I start like Googling, I go on Instagram, I start like following all these twin flame pages that, there was only a few back then. And I remember seeing that like it was a thing, like reading about it, that people were having similar experiences to what I had with this woman, that were really just out of this world things, like I remember we were talking on the phone one time. I was in California and she was in New Jersey, and she I said to her, I feel like you're the yin to my yang. And that was the first time I ever said that to her. And then she just appeared, her energy body just appeared in my room next to me.
Wow.
And I was like, what's happening on your end? Like, tell me, like, what's going on for you? And I'm like, well, she's like, I just feel all this energy, like tingling in my hands and in my body. And I'm like, well, you're here. Your energy body is in my room right now. And it was crazy. I was like, what is this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was just some of the things. There was all these synchronicities. We were both seeing a lot of numbers, 11 all the time, and all these numbers, right? And so I'm like, as I'm reading these threads and these blogs about other twin flames, it was like a common thread of like the runner and the chaser, and these people that come into our lives to spark something in us, to really awaken
Mm-hmm.
us, to really step us onto the path that we're here to live, you know
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, it's cool that I'm not the only one on the planet that's experiencing this, and there's like some sort of a small community that is also experiencing this. And now I'm starting to finally get some answers as to why, right? So yeah, that was really profound. And from there, everything just started opening up. I started to remember what I had known and practiced in other lifetimes. I was I was calling in all my teachers. I was remembering all these different modalities and profound energy healing practices
Mm-hmm.
that were just totally, like, for example, Reiki eliminated my anxiety. I had all this anxiety with different locations. Like, I've always been super sensitive to energy, like an empath. And I remember places like the airport or the DMV or Walmart, like I feel so much energy, and it was just
Yeah.
really hard to be in those places. I would get this anxiety. And now with what I know is that a lot of times that wasn't even my energy. It was energy that I was feeling from others, that I was picking up from others. And Reiki was this answer to what I was like, to the anxiety going away, right? Where I'm like, okay, I can heal people or myself. I can put my hands on my body and feel the energy rushing from the universe into myself. no matter where I am, no matter where in the universe, and it can relax and soothe me and go anywhere in my body where I need it, no matter where I place my hands. And I was like, this is really empowering. This is profound, right? And since then, the anxiety really subsided significantly, and I've learned since then how to cleanse my energy from other people's attachments and things like that, and energetically clearing out anything that I may be carrying that's not my energy. And a lot of times when I'm clearing myself, there's different ways I do that, but one of my practices is working with an Amazonian tobacco snuff with other herbs mixed in. And when I do that, it's blown into the nostrils. And when I do that, I'll feel the parts of my body where the energy is stuck, and I'll tap my body and I'll move that energy out of my body. And that can look a lot of different ways. That can look like burping, that can look like farting, that can look like crying, that can look like sweating, that can look like an energetic purge, where I'm making the motions of throwing up, but nothing's coming out except for energy. And I make sure I've learned since then to put protection around myself and to channel that energy that's leaving me immediately back up to Creator through the channel of white light that I surround myself with. So that way it's that energy is no longer circulating through, just getting passed on to different people, and I can just alchemize and release it.
Now, is
So
this something that you offer as well?
yeah. So my buddy Pablo and I, we have a business, a hotbed business where we sell the tobacco snuff from the Amazon, and we also sell the self-administrators. They're called caripes. They're usually made out of wood, and they have one end that goes in the nostril, one in the mouth, and you just blow the tobacco snuff into your nostril one at a time. Yeah, it's been a medicine I've been working with for over 5 years now, almost 6 years, maybe seven, and it has really changed the ways that I've been able to navigate in this reality. I no longer need to feel like I no longer feel so overwhelmed by the energy surrounding me. I can cleanse my body every morning, and then I come back to my center, and I know the difference now of when somebody's energy is in my field, or in my aura, however you want to call it, and when it's just my energy and I'm centered and I'm grounded and I'm fully present. When I've taken on energy from other people, then that feels like that can feel like anxiety, that can feel like sadness or worry or anger, frustration. I sometimes also experience those emotions just like anybody else, but I can feel the difference from when it's coming from within me versus something that I've picked up.
Right. And that can take practice and discernment and meditation, knowing
Yeah,
yourself.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took a while. It took several years for me to refine that, right? And to rewind it back, after I found that Kundalini yoga class, I started calling in my teachers, and I found my Reiki teacher, and she had posted an ad in a little magazine, and somebody had brought it in. I was doing an internship for physical therapy, and I was very open about my whole experience with everyone at that facility. I was just trying to share everything that I was learning, and they were all really cool. They were all open to it, and they were like, oh, we found this magazine, you might like it. And I open it up, and there's this woman, and I'm like, that's my teacher. And I called her up, and she was exactly what I was envisioning for a Reiki teacher. And she took me through all three levels. And I mean, the space that she had cultivated with other teachers was profound. It was called the Circle of Miracles at the time. And you walk into this building, and there's all sheepskins on the ground, and like these sound bowls and gongs, and it's like this like couches and chairs, and it's just super cozy. And it just the energy inside there felt so warm, and like a big hug of energy, it just felt so welcoming. And I looked forward to going there every time, because it just felt so safe and held, in that space.
I could
And
feel it through the screen. Just you
yeah,
telling it. I'm
yeah,
like, wow.
yeah, it was just so nice. I was like, I just want to come out here and take a nap. You know what I mean? Just like come out and just like, roll around in the sheepskins. But the first level Reiki, I think maybe there was 8 or 9 of us in the class, and you can imagine there's these seats, just fold out chairs. And I'm like the second or third last in line to get my Reiki attunement, which is a um, basically how the energy is transferred from the master to the student. It's a process where they open up the crown chakra and let the energy flow into you. And as soon as she started that process, which was at the end of all the training and the logical learning about chakras and energy, as soon as she got to the first person in that line, that were seated in the chairs, I felt like that similar experience of the third eye kind of opening. And because my eyes were closed, we were doing this meditation, and it was a guided meditation where she took us up to this mountain, and it was really beautiful. And so, but as soon as she started the first attunement, I was like, whoa, what's happening? What's happening? I start seeing all these symbols kind of like appearing on this mountain that I'm envisioning in the meditation, but like in front of it with this translucent blue color. They were just like appearing. And it was really interesting. I was like, wow, they're just like flashing in front of me. And later on, I went through with the same teacher to the mastery level, where I teach and I also facilitate Reiki. And so from what I learned by the end of it was that those are all the symbols that you learn throughout the three levels. But on the first level, they don't give you all of them until the end. So, and then I went on to find another type of Reiki, which is an Egyptian style called Sakem Reiki. And that was
I never
more
heard of
yeah. You work with the deity named Sekhmet, which is an Egyptian deity that has a lioness head. And she directly works with you, and that energy feels more feminine. And then the first one I was just mentioning is a more Japanese style, and that feels more masculine. So when I activate both of them, it allows for that yin yang energy to flow into yourself or the client, whatever you're working
Yeah,
with.
I like that. Yeah, because the first one you just did the traditional Usui Reiki,
Right.
right? Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that the symbols that I saw that day were just those Sui symbols, but I learned a lot more since then with the Sakem Reiki. But I don't recall that I saw those as well. I think it was just those Sui symbols that I saw in the vision. But that was really profound. I was like, wow, this is also one of those things that I feel like I've been doing for a long time, in many lifetimes. and it just came very naturally to me. All the symbols, it wasn't even like learning them, it was like remembering them again,
Mm,
and
yes. Yes.
I remembered them very effortlessly. It didn't take a lot of practice. It was just like quick, and it just felt really natural. So that was really profound. Yeah, the I ended up starting my search for my Kundalini yoga teachers, and so I thought that it might be the teacher of that original teacher in LA. So I was like, I got to go to California and meet these people, right? And so in 2017, I had finished my degree, and I was like, okay, I'm. I told my buddy, I was like, I'm ready to go to San Diego. He had gone to university there, and we took a road trip for I think 12 days across the South.
Wow.
And yeah, we stopped at all the cool spots like Area 51 and Carlsbad
Yes.
Caverns. You know, we went to Florida and swam with the manatees.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, we went to New Orleans. It was all these really cool spots that we stopped along the way. Uh, and when I got to San Diego, I think it was about a year. I found a class in La Jolla, San Diego, and this girl was teaching around my age, and I'm like, "Who's your teacher?" I'm like, "I love the way you teach. Who's your teacher?" And she's like, "Oh, you'd love them. It's a couple, and they have been doing this for 40 years. They were some of the original students of Yogi Bhajan, who brought it in the late
Mm,
60s." And I was like, all right, I want to go meet these people, right? And
mm.
I walk into their yoga studio, and I get met with this man who has a all white beard down to his belly button. He looks like Gandalf, right? And he's got this white turban on his head, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, you're my teacher, dude. Like like, I already know it. Like, I know it. And he's like, he's one of those people that is very like, he uses very few words. A lot of his transmissions are telepathic, and he just transmits it through the field. And he's like, okay, great. I
That's
want
so
you.
badass.
Yeah, he was so cool. And his name was Guru Mantra. And mantra is, uh, for those that don't know, a way that people can connect to a specific way of chanting and praying, right? It's through repeating this chant or this prayer that amplifies your experience in whatever way, because there's different mantras for all different things. There's different mantras for the different chakras. And so his name was given to him because he was really good at showing you how to chant the mantras correctly, like really deeply from the navel center, from your dantian, right?
Mm,
And he taught us how to do the Kundalini yoga mantra in the beginning. They call it a tune in the proper way. And when he did it, it was like, whoa, it just felt like the whole room, the energy was cleansed and cleared just with his voice.
wow.
And I was like, okay, I really want to learn how to do that. And so he taught, I eventually signed up for their training. Um, but he taught us how to chant in that way so that your voice is actually clearing the space for the class, so that you don't need any sage, you don't need Reiki, you can just clear it with your voice. And that was really powerful. That was really profound. And so he invited me to their house, and that was where the training was. And I met his wife, and I really liked her. And she was the opposite, right? She was really outspoken and really like expressive, really good at teaching. And he was more quiet and reserved and introverted, and she was more extroverted.
That's a
And
good
so,
balance.
yeah, it was a good balance. And so I was like, this is really cool. And he also was really connected to the gong and the power of the gong, and how you can use the frequency and the vibrations from the gong in order to heal your body and heal everybody in the class. So, but those are just a few things that I learned. It was a 9-month training, and it was something that I got. It was like a full rebirth, because
Mm.
a baby's in the womb for 9 months, and
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
Duh.
yeah. So it was really interesting. Uh they had us doing uh a lot of work on, like, a lot of practicing on our own, right? And one of the things that we would do is that was really impactful in the beginning, was called the kirtan kriya. And it's a meditation where you're sitting with your legs crossed, if you can, and then your hands are rested on your knees, and you're touching your thumb to all four fingers one at a time, and you're chanting out loud sa ta na ma. And I can give you a link to a good YouTube video of this, if any of the listeners are interested.
Yeah,
uh,
please do. Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
yeah, but that one, satanama, means birth, life, death, and rebirth. So it's a full
Mm.
cycle. And I was like, okay, I'll, I'm really interested in this, right? And I sat down, and as soon as I started doing it, I just started having tears flowing down my face the whole time. And it's a 31-minute practice. You do 7 minutes out loud, 7 minutes whispering, 7 minutes in silence, and you're just in your mind chanting, then 7 minutes whispering, and then 7 minutes out loud. And it might be a little bit longer for the middle. I don't know if that adds up, but it's there's 12-minute versions, and there's 31-minute versions. And it was profound. I would just sit there, and every day for 40 days straight, which was the assignment, I had the opportunity to tune in with this mantra. And it was so beautiful, the one that I listened to on YouTube, because there's this really calm piano music playing, and then they're chanting on top of that, this couple. And it just got into that deep subconscious for me. It started to really unravel some of this pain and sadness that I was carrying. And 99% of the time, I didn't know why I was crying. It was just clearing it out. And that's the beauty of this kind of work, quote unquote, right? Is that you can really heal yourself in these deep layers without knowing exactly what you're healing, because it could have been past lifetime stuff. It could have been, you know, aspects of my journey that I had repressed or pushed down, that I wasn't aware of anymore. Like, my thoughts couldn't go there unless it was in a deep meditation. But either way, after those 40 days, I was like, man, I feel lighter. I feel like I cleared so much energy. And the journey just kept going with that. Like, I kept uh, finding deeper ways to connect to spirit, connect to source, and finding other layers. Because I believe these layers are like an onion, whereas I peeled one back, another one was revealed, and I just kept going deeper into it.
Right.
Yeah, that was around 2018, and then I moved up to Encinitas, California, which is like a really spiritual town where Yogananda Paramahansa had his self-realization fellowship. And he, for those that don't know, he wrote the autobiography of a yogi, which is a
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
which
was
is
like, wait, what? Who?
yeah.
Okay.
Uh, that book is profound. You know those experiences I was having with that woman that I was mentioning earlier?
Yes.
He spoke about a lot of those experiences, and it was the first time that I was reading a book where a yogic master was talking about how these were happening to his gurus, and he was experiencing this where like one of the gurus he could be in one place and then also show up in another location and speak to his students and that kind of stuff, you know. And I was like, whoa, this is profound, because I've never heard anyone in a book or in person ever talk about these experiences. And so I was like, okay, this is awesome. And before that, though, I forgot to mention, when I first came to San Diego on that road trip, we stopped in the meditation gardens of Yogananda's ashram. And and I thought it was like that Reiki center, the Circle of Miracles, but it was the nature version of that, where I felt like it was on the beach, but elevated on a cliff with like an amazing, beautiful garden with koi ponds, and it's still there. It's an amazing place to go meditate. And so my buddy was like, you're gonna love this place. We got to go there. And lo and behold, a year later, that's the town that I moved to and ended up living there for 7 years. And it was that place just in itself was like a spiritual high school or college, you know, because everybody that was attracted there and everybody that I met was on this, not everybody, but a majority of people were on the spiritual path. And it was like this hub that everybody came to, and a lot of people would choose to live there. And it felt like the people that I met while I was there became like it was me connecting with my soul family again, like my soul tribe.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
that brings me to the experience of when COVID happened. That was amazing for me and for a lot of the people in that community, because
Yeah.
it attracted so many van lifers and people from all over the country that were like just seeing what we were doing. And what we started was, we saw that a lot of people were having uh, you know, struggles. People were feeling really lonely. They were feeling really depressed, sad, like so much fear. Like it truly felt like the end of the world, right? And we started a meditation circle on the beach, also on one of the cliffs, but right outside of Moonlight Beach, there's this circle that's paved with all these like beautiful etchings on it of like waves and things like that. And it was the perfect place where we could gather. And for, I don't know, maybe like almost 2.5 years, we were gathering there every morning at 6:30 a.m. And it was awesome because everything was shut down, and like not everything, but there's no cars on the road. Everybody was
Right.
getting the government money, you know, the the $1,500 or however much Trump was giving people at the time. And we were just gathering and meditating, and then people were sharing their offerings. So what my offering was Kundalini yoga, and I was like, after the meditation every Monday I'll be teaching, and then on Tuesdays we'd have another teacher teaching hatha yoga. Then we'd have a sound bath on Wednesdays. Thursdays we'd do acro yoga, and then
That's so
Saturdays.
fun.
Yeah, it was super cool. Everybody just gave their offerings for free, and
Mhm.
the group grew to like 300 people at
Whoa.
the peak. Yeah, um, and not. I think the most people we had meditating at one time was around 70, maybe 80. But it was so profound, because when you have that many people coming together with intention to meditate, it just amplifies everybody's experience so much
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, and it
And
gets spread around. It gets spread onto the land, and like anyone that's willing and able to receive it, that are like not in the group but like far away, goes
yeah,
to the ley lines of the earth, the grids, and all that good stuff.
yeah, for sure. And the beauty of it was everybody was in so much fear. We were getting the cops called on us often, by the neighbors, right? Like that, some of them were elderly and they were afraid, right? And so the
Uh,
cops would show up, and we're all just sitting there meditating, and they're like, "Oh, you need to have your masks on," and we're like, "Well,
outside?
we're outside, like." And so eventually, I think after about a week or two, we came up with this idea where it was like, what if we say that we're a peaceful protest? And so we came to the cops and we were like, what if we told you guys that we're a peaceful protest? And they were like, well, actually, um, we can't do anything about that. And they didn't want to be there. They were just getting called by the neighbors. And so they were like, okay, yeah, you're all good. You're all good. We won't bother you again. And that was like spirit working through, right? Like giving us this amazing experience without being, interfered with, or just like bringing in any type of negative energy into it. It was
Right.
it
Yeah.
was it was just a blessing to have that loophole, right, around it. So after that, they didn't bother us, and we just kept going with it. And every morning we'd go and get breakfast with all of our friends at the local restaurant. And then my buddy had a big backyard, and he lived like 4 houses down from me. And we'd lay down on the grass and put the projector on and watch movies every Friday. And it was just a really amazing time in my life. And I'll always have really good memories of that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like community is so important. And when people were going through that whole COVID stuff, it really took a toll on a lot of their, health and well-being, because humans, we need that connection, we need community, we need families and friends, and making eye contact with strangers instead of on the phone, walking down the street. We need a lot of that. And and I want to say that I read somewhere that the people that live the longest have an abundance of community, of friendship, of connection with others.
Mhm. For sure, for sure. And one of the best things was like you'd get your dose of hugs every morning, and there's so much research around how hugs can just there's so much chemicals that are released, that are, serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, from hugging. And so it just started our days off like so beautifully. And that experience was really profound because a lot of those people became really, really close to me. That I'm still really good friends with the majority of all those people that we all gathered together. And there was a time during COVID when I was like, I want to call in my soul tribe, and I prayed on it and prayed on it and just put it out there, and then they all started showing up, and it was really cool. It was really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, we had people moving out, living in their cars, like they weren't super strict about all that back then. Now they're like giving tickets, for people, anybody sleeping in their car in that town. So it's shifted a lot, but back then it was a lot more like understanding. A lot of my friends lived in their cars. They just wanted to be in that energy, and we were having a great time. That was
Yeah.
that was really fun and beautiful. At the time, around the time when we started that meditation circle, my girlfriend at the time and I wanted to take a road trip. There was nobody on a lot of the campsites were closed. Um, there was very few cars on the road. And what we ended up doing was we rented um, like one of those renter vans
Okay.
for like
Yeah.
for like transporting work materials, and we rented it for like $30 a day, and we took a road trip for 2 weeks all through California to all the national parks. And the only park we didn't get into was Yosemite, but we went to like um Mammoth Lakes. We went to
Mhm.
Inyo National Forest, which has the oldest trees in the world, which are like 4 or 5 thousand years old. I got to meet one of the grandmother, like on one of the grandmother trees. That was really amazing, and sit with her. But the big stop was in Mount Shasta,
Oh.
and it was my first time going there. And because there was nobody there, all the wildlife was really active. And what ended up happening was, on the way up there, there's all these Sasquatch signs, and in the gift stores everywhere, they're selling Sasquatch merch and toys and stuff. And that whole area is known for that, right? Like the hottest, like the most sightings of Bigfoot and Sasquatch are up in Northwest America, right? Like Northern California, Oregon, Washington, because there's so many deep, lush woods in that area, right? Like it's some of those areas are considered a rainforest
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because they get so much rain. And um,
Like, isn't there one in like Washington area or something
yeah,
like that?
yeah, and in Oregon, I think there's some, but Mount Shasta just had a lot of beautiful woods, and we stopped at this place that was this railroad. They converted these old railroad cars into little rooms that you could stay in, and so it was a railway campground, and it was like 10 or 15 minutes from the actual town of Mount Shasta, and we stayed in the van because we put a bed in there and stuff, just a mattress. And I'm sitting in meditation when we get there, and I hear this thudding, like I don't know if you can hear this, but like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but like deep, deep thudding on the trees, and like something that you can't do with your hands. Like no human could do it. No, I don't think any machine was doing it. It was just like this really deep like thud on the trees, and it
Oh,
had to be something strong. For the Bigfoot enthusiasts out there, a lot of people know that's how they communicate. One of the ways that they communicate to let each other know where they are, because that sound can travel pretty far. And so I hear this thudding, and then all of a sudden I get this telepathic message of this Bigfoot, and he told me his name, and he told me, yeah, and he told me, he's like, I'm around the same age as you, just in in Bigfoot years, and he's like, I'm one of the friendly ones. I'm it's all good. If you see me, I'll throw up one of these guys, like a shaka, and that's how you'll know it's me. But be a little bit wary of my sister. She is really inquisitive. She's not aggressive, but she's really inquisitive, and she'll come into the campsite and look around sometimes. And so I was like, all right, it was great to talk with you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the heads up. And we go to bed, and in the middle of the night, my girlfriend, like, at the time, nudges me and is like, hey, do you see that? And we had this Mexican blanket hanging over the back window of the truck, and of the van, I should say. And these bright green eyes were looking down into the Mexican blanket from 8 feet up in the air.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, there's no doubt. Like, I could feel the energy through my whole body. My partner at the time could feel the energy through her whole body, and she's like, I think that's his sister. And I'm like, I think so too. And
Wow.
I took a flashlight and I shined it through the Mexican blanket, and she went away. But it was intense. Then I have one more story. On that same trip, we drive up the mountain to Red Fir Campground that's on Mount Shasta, and we're camping in the van, and she's sleeping, and my dog's sleeping, and I hear this knock on the top of the van, and the van is pretty high up. And the next morning I looked, there's no trees, there wasn't any pine cones above that could have fallen. It just was a knock, and immediately I got taken into that telepathic connection again. And this time it was the guardian of the mountain. He was this giant male who was much older than the previous one that I first connected with. And he, in my just to share how, like, powerful he was, he made me bow in my mind to him, and he was like, hey, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm like bowing in my mind to him, and the telepathic communication, and I'm like, I'm here to connect with the land, to pick up trash, to learn from people and from the nature here, and to just really, connect to this beautiful place, which a lot of people consider the root chakra of the planet. And he's like, all right, I can see you're here with good intentions. Thank you for being here. And we both bowed to each other, and he left. And the next morning I wake up and I'm meditating, and I feel his energy again. And I have my eyes closed, but I feel him really close by again. And I open my eyes, and there's a chipmunk. And I get taken into telepathy again. And he's like, I can be whatever animal I want. Why do I want to be this giant animal or a giant being, I should say? Why would I want to be this giant being that takes so many calories and energy to move around, when I could be this little chipmunk and I just need a couple of nuts a day to live and function? And so I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I found out and figured out that they're shapeshifters. And from that experience, and then my buddy was camping on the same campground. I found out because we met up with him a few days later, and he said they were sitting around the campsite and they heard these giant thudding footsteps, and then all of a sudden they look over and they're waiting for this Bigfoot to pop out, but it was a deer.
Mm.
And he was just as convinced as me that they are able to shapeshift into other animals, because our minds sometimes aren't able to handle seeing this giant being, you know?
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, it was really profound. And I've probably watched every documentary that I've been able to come across on YouTube and Gaia and whatever platforms. And uh, that whole experience started when I was 9 years old. And when I was living in Maryland, I was watching the news, and I see on every single news channel, there was a video of a Bigfoot walking through the snow into the woods. And this footage was like on every channel. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, what is this? Right. And so from
Mm-hmm.
9 years old, I started this journey of trying to figure out what they are and try to connect with them. And in 2020, I finally was able to have that experience, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It was super
That's
fun.
so cool. I have not yet experienced a Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Is there a difference between them two, or just different?
It's just this. It's the same name. They don't really like being called Bigfoot. Uh, but you know, if you look it up, they're the same beings. It's just
Oh,
different names
okay.
for the same being. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited because you came on my podcast, and you shared a lot of really amazing experiences and journeys as well with extraterrestrial beings, and with fairies we talked about, and spirits. And so that'll be really awesome to for people to hear your side of the awakening journey as well, you know.
Yeah, I have more like the fays and the elves, and you have more of the Sasquatch.
For
Did you
sure.
ever have any experience with like UFOs or alien type beings?
But yeah, there was one time uh when I drove up to Maine to Acadia National Park with my buddy Adam. And it was like a 9-hour drive from Pennsylvania when I was living there. And we just did it in a day. And we found a campsite right on the water. And we had just done this awesome hike, and we came back and we're like sitting by the fire, relaxing, and there's this rustling in the bush, and I feel an energy, and he feels an energy. But just to kind of like ease my mind, I take like a little rock and kind of toss it to the bush, and see like what, maybe this is a cat or a little rodent, right?
Right.
And it nothing moved, nothing rustled, nothing happened. And we both felt the energy, and he's like, I'm gonna go to bed. And I'm like, this kind of energy feels very foreign. Like, are you sure you don't want to like share one of our tents tonight, right? And he's like, no, no, I'm just gonna go to bed. And I was like, all right, no worries, dude. I'll just go sleep in the car, right? And I take my comforter into the car, and but before I get in the car, I take a photo of the bushes, and then I go in the car and I cover myself up with the comforter. I cover my head and my face, and I lean the chair back, and immediately I feel this being on the other side of the door.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, okay. And this being starts to also telepathically connect with me. And I, just so people know, like during these times in my life, I'm doing a lot of meditation. I'm doing a lot of practice. So like, I'm really, my body is, my nervous system is primed to be in that telepathic connection with these beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't always have that experience. It's just there's been a few of these instances, right? And so I'm laying there, and this being comes over, and he's like, he takes me into this telepathic communication, and I remember showing it a hawk flying through the Grand Canyon, and then my mind just like blanks out. I, quote unquote, like pass out or fall asleep, but I was very actively sharing experiences of this planet with this being, and I believe it was trying to learn more about what's it like here, right? And so it took it, I wake up like an hour later, and the energy's gone, and I don't remember anything else that was discussed or shown to this being. But maybe with some hypnosis or with some deeper meditation, I may be able to access it at some point. But uh, I take my camera and I look at it, and there's 3 orbs on the photo by the bushes, by where by where we heard the rustling. And I was like, oh wow, okay, so that's kind of like my monkey mind getting the proof of that this really was something that had happened, because a lot of times people will see these orbs when they have these types of extraterrestrial experiences, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that was one of them. And there's been there I've actually had like extraterrestrials come, and I've seen them. Like I've seen a gray alien come, and he was like on the other side of the sliding glass door uh,
Mm.
in the mountain house in Pennsylvania, uh, where I was living actually when I found that Kundalini yoga class and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that happened one time, and um, there's been some other ones, but not so clear where I'm like seeing them in my experience, like in my reality. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a lot of the ways that I communicate with these beings is telepathically, and it's with the intention and the openness, which is really key. Like not having any fear, but being open to having that back and forth communication. You know?
Mm. Yes.
Yeah. So that was definitely some of the highlights. I've shared with your listeners some of the really interesting ones, but there's a whole plethora more of that, but those were some of the really far out ones.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure there's more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you would like to share? Or like how can other people like find you, connect with you, work with you?
Yeah, so I offer a 3-month spiritual guidance program that I've taken people through. I do energy work remotely and in person. So, regardless of where you are on the planet, I can send you energy healing. Um, with
And that energy work, is that through the different Reiki modalities that you have? Do you just like kind of like um combine everything together and made it your own?
so there's I'll send the different forms of Reiki, as well as I didn't mention it, but I also do integrated energy therapy, which is like working with the aura and with the past lifetime stuff,
Okay.
for people to clear that.
Yeah,
So
and that's powerful.
yeah, so beautiful. So
Okay.
so yeah, I offer that. I offer private Kundalini yoga classes, as well as I have a YouTube channel for that, where I teach Kundalini yoga, and I have a podcast called Spiritual Teachers Podcast, which you came on, and that is the same channel for my Kundalini yoga videos. So it's at on YouTube. It's at Spiritual Teachers Channel, or you can just search Spiritual Teachers Podcast. Um,
Perfect. And we'll
eh,
have all of that in the description.
yeah, and
Thank you.
I'll share my Instagram and the podcast Instagram and stuff like that. So thank you so much, Tracy, for having me on.
Yeah.
This is super fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your journey and your gifts, your offerings. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I sending you guys so much love.
Yes. So much love. All right. Ciao.
All right, take care.